Oh, what is good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. In this video, we will be comparing Blessing Awodibu at the 2021 New York Pro, where he placed 6th. This was actually his last competition prior to the Indy Pro, which of course he just won. And Blessing has made incredible improvements, guys. Also, Mark's Max Muscle has already done a comparison of Blessing from the Indy Pro from last year to this year. If you guys want to check out that video, incredible improvements. But Blessing was actually a little bit off in New York, so I thought it would be an interesting comparison. So let's start this off with the front double bicep, and of course this front double was taken from the lineup, so it is a little blurry. And the first thing that I noticed, guys, Blessing is just a lot more conditioned, man. Like, he's a little smaller, it seems, but he's also more conditioned and a little bit more full. I'm not actually sure if he's a little smaller. I think he may just be holding a little more fat and a little more water in the previous version. But this is incredible because Blessing actually said him and George Farrell cut out doing cardio at about 6 weeks out. And a lot of guys online were saying Blessing should still be doing cardio, but he came in pretty conditioned here. Waist seems to be a lot smaller. Biceps seems to be popping a lot more separation in the legs. Overall, he seems to be more conditioned, but either he's put on a little more size or he's just more full than last year. But this is an incredible transformation. Now, taking a look at this front lat spread, he's leaning back a lot more at the New York Pro version, a lot like a Kai Greenwood, to make himself look a little bit wider. Either way it goes, guys, I honestly like the 2021 execution of this pose. If he would have hit it this year, it would have looked a lot better. I just don't think his physique was as good for this pose as it is now. But just the pop, the conditioning, and the waist seems to be a lot smaller, guys. He's executing this pose basically standing straight up at the Indy Pro instead of leaning back. Now, Blessing still needs to improve in the quads a little bit. Seems like the quad to our right or his left may be down a little bit in size. He could definitely use a little bit more quad sweep. But so far, it's the Indy Pro version by a mile, guys. Now, taking a look at this side chest pose. Now, these are two different executions. When I was putting this together, what I was thinking is from the New York Pro, this is an execution very similar to how Brandon Curry hits it, where he displays a lot more upper body and a little less upper body, versus the Indy Pro version is a lot like Hunter Labrada hits it, showing a lot more side leg and a little less chest definition. Overall, I think I like the execution from New York Pro better, but the physique from the Indy Pro is just so much better, and you can actually see a couple striations in the side glutes. And he honestly is just popping a lot more, guys. Everything just looks to be better. But you can still see that Blessing has a little bit of overdeveloped glutes, which I pointed out to in my last video. So Blessing, bring up those hamstrings. Make sure you connect them with them because you might be hitting the glutes and not the hamstrings. But I did want to share this side chest comparison of Blessing Awodibu because I really like this execution. And this is how he started executing the pose at finals. And Blessing's posing from prejudging to finals actually improved a lot. He was very shaky in prejudging. Now, taking a look at the back double bicep, Blessing looks like he's put some size on, guys, as I said before. And you can see here, his glutes have grown a lot, guys, just within the past year, but he haven't been able to bring up the hamstrings as much, which is why I mentioned when he's training hamstrings, he may be possibly connecting with his glutes more to his hamstrings because the glutes have grown a ton, guys. But overall, I'm wondering, does Blessing have the issue that guys like Akeem Williams and Brandon Curry has? I hope he doesn't have the issue where his back is very hard to get conditioned, because as we've seen from the front and even the lower half, he doesn't have much hamstring condition, but he is very dry. But in the upper body, he just doesn't seem to have that same level of conditioning. Now, taking a look at this rear lat spread, and this was honestly the hardest picture to size, guys, because the execution is so different. But the Indy Pro version is just completely destroying the New York Pro version. And his posing has improved since this last showing, but it still could improve a little bit more. Now, Blessing does have longer legs, and I feel like in this shot it's the most noticeable, which kind of throws off his flow. Nothing against Blessing, of course, but the improvements that he's made in a year are incredible, guys, and probably up there with a lot of some of the best improvements from 1 year, because these are improvements that take a lot of guys multiple years to make. And definitely, I'm pretty sure no one had Blessing coming into this show looking this good. No one had Blessing winning this show. I may have seen one person with Blessing in second, so he definitely shocked everyone. And he did confirm that he will be doing a New York Pro, guys, so we will be seeing Blessing in New York this week. But taking a look at the side tricep pose, and of course, these are two different executions, but 2022 Indy Pro by a mile, guys. And honestly, I don't think this is a bad execution for New York. I think Blessing probably doesn't hit this pose like this anymore because he doesn't have the best hamstring drop. So that's why he shows a lot more quad. Incredible, but granted, in the 2022 Indy Pro version, you can't actually see much tricep, and this pose is the side tricep. But the tricep is probably the muscle that he's displaying the least. The thing about bodybuilding and being a good poser, you're supposed to try to hide your weaknesses on stage and, you know, show off your strengths. So Blessing changing the execution of this pose would definitely have him beating a lot more guys in his side tricep, I think. Now taking a look at this ab and thigh shot, and of course he also executes this pose a lot differently. Honestly, I would have liked to see Blessing hit this shot straight on in 2022 because he is a lot more conditioned. I honestly think it would have been a good shot for him. But usually on the channel, we usually go with the guy that's hitting a traditional overhead ab and thigh. But honestly, guys, the Indy Pro version is just so far ahead in conditioning and ab separation. But I do think that Blessing can improve on this pose still by showcasing more of the front of his quad so we can see striations or either separation, you know, more like how a Sean Clarita or Kyle Greens hit this pose. Now finishing up here with the most muscular shot, and Blessing was bending a lot lower in the New York Pro version versus here he was almost standing straight up. And the improvements are undeniable, guys. Blessing has improved all around. Every single shot is better. Conditioning is a lot better. As you guys know, last year he was working with Chad Nichols, and Blessing actually had some pretty harsh things to say about Chad. And he said George Farrer is the best coach he's ever had. He stopped doing cardio at 6 weeks out. And I mean, hey guys, I'm not saying that Chad is a bad coach at all. As you guys know, he coaches Big Ramy and Coach Ronnie Coleman, but every coach doesn't work for everybody. So I'm very glad that Blessing found a good fit with George Farrer. And if you guys didn't know, George Farrer actually used to work with Kyle Green as well. Blessing and Kyle are real close, being two of the top guys at Redcon 1. But as always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video, man. If you haven't done so already, like the video and sub to the channel. I'm out.